nut hatches are out. Ooh. Welcome everyone to Consciousness in Nature. As I breathe in through the nose, I want you to know I'll be hitting a quick patch of signal drop. That'll be in about 30 seconds for about 15 seconds. And so then we'll be back. Come on in, rest, relax, and receive in the glorious expectancy of the good. Beautiful blue skies today in New England. Hey, Sheila, thanks for the rose. Welcome. Beautiful blue skies here in New England today. It's probably 55 degrees. So I am without a coat, which is nice. Nice to be without a coat today. All right, there goes the heart, starting to pump. Got some horse tracks. Horse coming through here. All right. Sheila says, I live in West Tennessee and it's 79 degrees. I've been gardening. That sounds like a heavenly day. What do you got going in your garden beds, Sheila? Why don't you share with us what's happening there? As we all start to plant our seeds in the garden of wish fulfillment today. It's a great place to start. Look at that. Yeah. That's pretty nice. Nice cruciform today. Ooh, wow. Sheila says, I'm planting sweet peas, tomato, green beans, and lettuce. The essentials for full survival. Love it. Sounds like good fun. Okay, welcome everyone. My name is William, and we are in nature. And we are walking. This is New England. We are in Connecticut, and this is a semi-private, semi-public trail. It kind of falls within a gray area, as it were. Heard something rustling in the brush. Wanted to see what it was. All right. Welcome everyone. Here's some sunlight. Actually, let's get some of this now. Oh yeah, let's get a little further this way. I want to get some sun gazing here. See if I can get some phosphines. And when I say phosphines, oh yeah. Whew. Sheila says, I have baby chickens and 45 beautiful ladies that lay me 3 dozen eggs a day. That's some productivity. Wow. Amazing productivity. Living my dream. Indeed, Sheila, that is a great dream to live. So that's beautiful. All right, let's get some sunshine. Wow. What do you think of that? What do you think about that? That is some massive, massive photon emission. Thank you, Neon Prophet, for the hand hearts. Great to see you. Today we have some serious sun, folks. And I'm just going to stand here, and take it in with my eyes closed. And if you have sun that is as bright as this on a given day, my suggestion is, of course, if you can get it earlier in the day and later in the day, it's easier on the skin and body. However, my body is now adjusted to phosphene's creation and just receiving the radiation from the sun. But this is a massive cruciform sunbeam day. I mean, this is a pretty wild one. We don't normally see it like this, which is really cool. So all I'm doing is I'm directing my head to the sun like this. Got my eyes closed, relaxed, and I'm just going to do some long, deep breathing while the light comes right through the skin and then permeates the bone and then stimulates the pineal gland. Eventually, what happens with enough stillness is it produces an effect called phosphenes. And they're basically photons that are emitted from within. And it's actually a form of perception. Now, where this is originating from, I believe to be the pineal gland. It could be the third ventricle. What I notice are secretions from the third eye. And as they secrete and travel through the pineal gland and the third ventricle, what I get is a fractal form, which is basically just a bunch of polygonal designed geometric patterns. And they start thick and wide, and then they beam out and narrow. And they cycle. They cycle at a rate of about 4 seconds per cycle coming through. And this has been happening for the last almost 3 years. I've had the phosphine effect, and this has been since reducing my intake of fluoride and also increasing my intake of other essential minerals. But I'll tell you today, I took a good dose of shilajit, which is Himalayan minerals. And what I'm having right now is definitely blissful contact with God. This is a very powerful presentation of the sun, and it's not common. So we have an uncommon situation here, which is great. This is really good. So we are sun gazing. Starseed Storyteller, thanks for following. Julie, truly, thanks for the heart me and for being here. Neon, thanks for the It's Corn. Yeah, JJ, we've got quite a spectacle of sunlight today. Hello, chickadee. That's a chickadee. Either that or it's a tufted titmouse. It's likely a chickadee. Tommy says, last night was great. We did have a late night stream. I did 10 hours of streaming yesterday. With a 7-hour late night stream, we started with 2,500, 2,700 words of writing, the composition of a song and its completion on Suno. By the way, I have a song going globally viral, a global trending song called Flipside Sky Road on Suno. And if you go to my bio, you can catch the link to Suno and you can listen to all of my AI generated music. I've been a musician since 1997, writing songs. And this is one that I'm really happy with. It has like a combination of Taylor Swift's voice with Bruno Mars at the end and a really ripping guitar solo. So I'm really happy with it. I'm glad it's going viral. It's about time something starts to trend in that way. So I'm very happy with that. Care Bear, thanks for sharing. Hello there. And Starseed's in concurrence with Neon Prophet. I'm feeling these phosphenes now. I just want to close my eyes and absorb this. Miss Smith, thanks for your follow. And to all of you who I don't see following, if I missed you, you can feel free to say, hey, you missed me, and I'll be happy to recognize you. And I also want to thank you for being here to tune in. And what I'm currently doing is sun gazing. And so you can see how I'm doing this. It's just as simple as this. And if you can recline in a lounge chair and just be at peace. Turn your eyes slightly inward. It's going to create a little bit of mechanical stress on your pineal gland. And you'll find that your eyes closed rest and sit in a place of relaxation when you turn them slightly inward. And it creates a holistic, almost three-dimensional one focus in the center of your visual with your eyes closed, which is basically just light. And you'll find there's a horizon. There's a horizon line, and that's where you focus. And as you focus there with enough stillness, it starts to create a secretion from the pineal gland and the pituitary. The milk and honey start to pour through the third ventricle and into your CSF in the form of mood elevating hormones. Not to mention you get all the benefits of the sun for repair of your skin, repair of your bones, the strengthening and thickening of your bone marrow. It's also anxiolytic, so it's anti-anxiety. It's just so good to get sunlight every day. And that's what we're doing right now. Thank you, Mona. Mona is 11 Jedi, says happy sun gazing. Thank you. Michelle, great to see you. Thanks for the shares. Starcy says, I'd love the podcast with you on sun gazing if you're, yeah, of course, absolutely. I'd love to talk about this umbilical cord. It is our lifeblood. It is an umbilical cord to consciousness. Without this, there is no life, and we happen to be in a habitable zone with this umbilical cord that leads to really what I believe to be our truth in being. We are truthfully light. Consciousness is light, light is consciousness. And this Christ consciousness that is the kingdom of heaven within is presented in the form of biophotons. This is a emittance of light from our cell structures. So we get photons from the sun, and look at that. We get photons from the sun, and we also get photons from our cells, right? This is how we receive light. And this combination gives us conscious experience in contrast with dark. We have to have duality in this state of existence as a human body, having a life experience. And beyond that, we also are powered by this. So this is the source, not speaking directly to the sun, but the source of our consciousness is light, which is emitted from within. It's quite a phenomenon. But everything that we eat is fueled by this external source. All the plants and all the animals that eat those plants and all the humans that eat those plants and animals receive our energy from the sun. So it is our umbilical cord to life, along with the breath, which is our Holy Spirit. Spiritus in Latin means breath. All right, I'm feeling that. That was a good one. Feeling pretty blissed out from that. So let's get going. Yeah, I would love to have a podcast talking about phosphenes and sun gazing and the effects of long, deep breathing with sun exposure and meditation, as well as the decalcification of the pineal gland, which I talk a lot about. I would love to do that podcast for sure. Yes, 11 Jedi, of course I remembered your name, Mona. Jason says something that I can't say without getting probably flagged, but thanks, Jason, for the contribution. Yeah, another thing that helps with that, Jason, you know, the male function down below is consumption of watermelon. Watermelon is a great thing for male performance. It is. It's amazing. Lycopene. Very good. Helps with blood flow. Also helps females. You know, it's all comes down to blood flow at the end of the day. All right. We're almost at a checkpoint here. Get a bit more sun. And then we will get started with discourse today. whatever it ends up being. It's always random. But it comes after a check-in with nature. Quite a spectacle of light today, though, I'll say. Pretty hard to believe, actually. It's really a powerful spectacle of light today. Nat says, I fell asleep to your live last night. And now I'm waking up to this one. You got a nice rest, I imagine, Nat. That's awesome. The algorithm literally changes words after typing, yes. Pretty invasive, isn't it? Let's connect to this tree here. Get some of the free electrons being offered. This tree, like all elders, are releasing free electrons, which are also known as negative ions, from the negatively charged earth. And what happens is they permeate the skin. The skin is porous. It's our largest organ in the human body. And it is very intelligent as far as sending and receiving information. And part of this involves electron transfer. So we receive free electrons from the environment. They bind to free radicals, which are positively charged, and they drop out in our urine and feces. Instead of binding to cell structures to cause mutations, they drop out. So all this means is less problems with the body, the more you have free electrons coming in. And you can get them from a diffuser, you can get them from trees, you can get them from running water, you can get them from holding stones. And all you need is a few minutes, or a few seconds even, for it to start to take effect and have an impact on your mood. It's really beautifully noticeable. I already feel it. So it's not just placebo effect. Here's a stone. I'll show you what a stone looks like that is healing. Witchy says, where are you located? State, I am in New England. The only reason why I'm not telling you more details is because your name Witchy. Just kidding. It's kind of a joke. Kind of a joke. All right, let's see here. This is a Sacred 7 amethyst that was found on this path right here. This is a spear tip. It is likely worked, as you can see, seems to have been worked, which means this is likely 20 to 30,000 years old, likely ceremonial and buried with someone, and it happened to come up in alluvial deposits on the trail here. A trail that people walk over every single day and pay no attention to unless you are present. So you can see citrine here, that's the orange. You can see elements of amethyst and pink quartz, rosy quartz. And you can see some carnelian. And of course it's pointed, which is really nice because when you provide this point, it undergoes mechanical stress. And as it undergoes mechanical stress, it releases free electrons into the body. They pass through the skin and on they go, distributing themselves. Anytime you provide mechanical stress, this generates a current. This current is very light and it is therapeutic. For it stimulates the muscles and it stimulates the collagen in the body. And as we put stress under the stone, on the stone, we also are creating mechanical stress all around the tendons of the hand, which also generates current. And as you generate current, we receive those electrons and it also releases a bunch of little endorphins that have been bound up in our muscle fibers from that electricity. So we're talking about a therapeutic effect and it's going to generate heat. I can already feel its generation of heat. But this is a great healer. This is a spear-tipped relic that you can find all around Connecticut. There's the spoiler. I am in Connecticut. You can find this all around, at least where I go. And if anyone wants to find something like this on a trail where it's readily available for anyone to take with in certain zones, then send me an invite. It usually leads to areas of provenance, having me come along. Not because I'm special in any way, it's just because I'm childlike and open to the idea of finding these things. And the more childlike you are and open to finding things by living from the end, imagining great gifts coming your way, the more they seem to occur. User 47272893519600. Thank you for following. Swami Sattva, thanks for following too. Open-minded, thank you for following. And welcome to the sun. Pretty impressive sun we have today. Antinous Omegas, thank you for following. And welcome everyone. Vanessa Chase, thanks for following. Witchy says, beautiful crystal. Thank you for following, Witchy, and for your kindness in saying so. It's a good one. And I'm enjoying it today and its therapeutic effects. Witchy, thank you for the heart me. All right, let's get moving on the trail. I hear domestic dogs. They could be coy dogs. I don't know. We'll have to see. There are coy dogs in this wood. There are also coyotes. I've even witnessed a Canadian lynx one time, just a few meters away. Found me peaceful enough not to pounce. Very thankful for that. Who knows, in an alternative timeline, it might have happened. I've also seen a barred owl, which we caught on live stream. It's quite a beautiful moment. The barred owl was about 1.5 meters away, and it was very calm. It even gave me the greatest of gifts in a slow blink, like a cat would. I was very happy with that, because it was in the middle of the afternoon, and it was likely disturbed in the middle of its sleep, seeing as it is nocturnal, and a silent flyer. And I mean extremely silent. And those talons on the barred owl are strong enough to crush bone. So I'm very grateful that it just stayed perched and looked at me with adoring eyes. I could be no more appreciated than that, I think. Yes, it was very beautiful. By the way, you can catch it. It's in my profile. It's the first pinned video, or maybe the second pinned video. You will see the barred owl, and it came literally out of the blue. I was not expecting any of that, and what's really wild about it, its synchronistic event was a result of me taking an old abandoned horse path, which used to be used for jumping and training horses. I decided, since it hasn't overgrown yet, because we haven't yet seen spring here in New England, that I would take the path. And the moment I took the path, I was talking about a dream I had the night before, and it was in that moment that I heard a clicking, like a I was like, okay, turned, and it was right there. I mean, right there, and looking at me, and I could feel like it just had these black eyes, like I could feel it looking right into my soul. I mean, however that happens, narrative-wise, that's what I felt. And I just was thankful and grateful. And as I felt thankful and grateful and stayed still and was calmly speaking like this, it started to look at me, and I was going. And then it even gave me a wink. I couldn't believe it. Holy. That's a lot of poo. That is a lot of horse poo. Good manure. Almost stepped right in that one. Almost stepped right in it. Holy. Lots of poo. I mean, horses are big, so I guess it's not much for them, but, you know what I mean. All right, let's grace another tree here. This is the one that I usually come by and say hello to anyway. I think this is a birch. I could be wrong. I'll show it to you. We got a comment coming in here. says, from Antonis, says, I'm in rural New Jersey. I love hiking trails and searching for rocks and minerals. Your spear tip is special. Thank you, Antonis. You have a great state for exploration. Have you ever been to the Pine Barrens? I haven't, but I heard they're unbelievable. User 63221620392215. Thanks for following. Gut confirms this. This is a birch. For some reason, it's filtering it gut-wise. I don't know why. It's so weird sometimes. Don't know why. Hello, my friend. How are you today, my good friend? About to come alive into the spring. I just want you to know you're not alone. The tree's probably saying, dude, why are you anthropomorphizing that which you don't know? I'm so much smarter than you. I'm the one who sets you into hemisync every single day when you walk by me, and I've been doing it for years. No need to anthropomorphize my intelligence, says the tree. Okay, thanks so much for that. I appreciate your free electrons. And we'll just leave it at that. Anthony says the Pine Barrens are pretty spooky, though. Indeed. I read this book by John McPhee called The Pine Barrens, and he went in as a New York Times story to do some reporting on it. And what's really interesting about John McPhee, he's one of my favorite writers, by the way. He's a beautiful technical writer. If you ever want to learn how to write technically while also evoking emotion, read anything by John McPhee, including Oranges. It's like the best book. It's all about the history of oranges and how they work and what the industry is about between California and Florida. It's just a remarkable book. So I was hooked on John McPhee, and I went and read more, including the Pine Barrens. And dude, there is a whole city of community people that have lived in the Pine Barrens. And for those who want to know what the Pine Barrens are, my dad used to go visit a lot. I used to live in New Jersey, by the way, Antonis. I used to live in Freehold Township. So, and my dad used to work there, near there, as a computer programmer. But we used to go explore with a Jeep. And my dad went to the Pine Barrens, but I never joined him. He went with my brother one day. Anyway, I read this book. There's a city of people that live in the Pine Barrens that haven't left. Now going on probably close to a century. And so as a result, their language is totally unique. Their culture is unique. They're extremely, just totally different people. And they've never left. It's like a wild thing. And so it's believed, so just to give you an idea what the Pine Barrens look like, if anyone wants to know, this is in New Jersey. They're pine trees, so it's a pine grove that is, massive. It covers a massive amount of acreage, hectareage. And beyond that, there's white sand. So it's white sand in contrast with pine trees. And you can go jeeping through there. But supposedly the Jersey Devil is there. There's like a whole thing on this. What is it called? The Chupacabra is believed to be there. And then you have these communities of people. It's pretty much like a horror film in the making. You can make a great horror movie just based on the idea of getting lost in the Pine Barrens and a community of people kind of finding them. And I don't know, you can have it turn in whatever direction you want from there, but it's pretty easy to imagine what could happen. Thanks for the invites from Russia, I imagine this is. Thank you, I don't battle. Navaser, thank you for following. And user 856-8639-856644, thanks for following. Witchy says the Sasquatch is there. So it's likely, there's so many crazy things about the Pine Barrens, and it's in New Jersey of all places. By the way, New Jersey has such fertile land and the most delicious tomatoes, and the Jersey cows that are there make the most rich milk and the best ice cream you'll ever have in your life. There's so many gems from the shorelines of New Jersey. A lot of people kind of have the wrong idea of New Jersey. So TC, thanks for following. Witchy says has to do some research. Okay. And Mona says the Jersey Devil is so spooky. It's kind of a wild thing talking about the Pine Barrens. Susan Scarlatta, thank you for following. Happy Tuesday, Bulletproof. Nice to see you here. And Troy, thanks for being here too. Great to see you all. Familiar faces. Welcome, everyone. So, yeah, I read that book by John McPhee. We're talking about John McPhee, and so his story is pretty unique too. He started off as a correspondent for, I think it was the New Yorker, or maybe it was the New York Times. I forget exactly. I think it was the New York Times, actually. And so he was fighting for just a position to be able to write. And so as a form of like sabotage, they're like, yeah, John, we need someone to report on oranges in Florida. So that's your gig. There are bluebirds. I hear them. He's like, that's your gig. So he accepts the gig and he goes to Florida and he writes this banger of an article. Because of the way that he is and how thick he got into the oranges and how they grow and their production, how they're picked. Like orange pickers are masters, because if you don't do it right, you're gonna wreck your hands. I mean, it's filled with spines. I don't know if you've seen like up close a real orchard grove with oranges. They are so difficult to pick correctly and effectively, and these guys do it like masterful. They can finish a tree in a very short period of time. And so John McPhee was just interviewing them. And as he did this, he started to research about the origin of the orange, and he learned that this was truly the first reference of temptation in the Garden of Good and Evil, or, from the Tree of Knowledge, that it actually was an orange, not an apple, which is normally depicted as an apple. But in truth, it was more an orange for a number of reasons. Just really cool. Percy, I think you just want attention, man, right? But you're helping the algorithm, so keep going. You're bringing people here. You don't need to be banned. I don't know, Percy. Might be something for you here, buddy. I don't know. I don't think your words are really threatening to anyone. Nor are mine. We can just be in the isness of the now, come into being, come into our kingdoms of heaven within, be bathed in the sacred oils of our salvation, and just not have to make sense of anything for a few minutes. It's really a beautiful opportunity every day to come here, to do the daily footprint. Yeah, it's manifesting for you for some reason, Percy. It's manifesting. It's all right. Yeah. Troy says you should read this book called Love, Death, and Oysters. You want to go? Oh. Part of me resists that, Percy, simply because I don't like to be told imperatives, even if you happen to be in some situation, a life situation that's pretty grave. I don't do well with imperatives or commands. But I can offer you all this and just know that you're not alone. Not alone, man. Yeah, I can tell you a lot of stories about that too. If you stick around this time, which you should, because the last time you told me all that stuff about my ex-wife, I told you how I manifest all of it. And I went through the whole narrative to it, and it's so dramatic. Ask anybody who was here for it. It's crazy drama, man. I talked about how I manifest all of it through my fears, and it's crazy. Block Lil, thanks for following. Blueberry Capital says Block Lil, New Jersey. Blueberry Capital. Indeed. Much love to you, Percy. Let's have you come into your kingdom and be... Yeah, don't worry. You can't be helped by anyone. I agree with you, man. What's beautiful about it is no one can help you from the outside, but the cells of your body don't care about that. Like, they just don't care about that enough. They are actually creating and releasing from your marrow, your bone marrow, at a rate of 3 to 6 million cells per second. They're just launching into your body to give you consciousness so that you can make as many stories as you want and have as many decisions made or not made it just keeps giving you aliveness. It's a real gift. It's a beautiful gift. Yeah. You are loved, Percy. You are. Absolutely loved, man. Percy, I'll tell you another story of mine. The last time my children came to the United States was in 2017. It's a long time ago. 8 years now, just about, going on. And my son was just a toddler. He was like an infant at that point. And my daughter was not much older. And so really the plan was for my then wife to come in and actually move to the States, and she had a job lined up and everything was good, and I thought everything was getting better, but I still had fears in my mind, like these convictions that something bad was going to happen. And man, it was the craziest, wildest experience, even crazier, I would argue, than the story that I said before about how my ex-wife tried to have me unalived with her lover while we were married. That's a pretty heavy story, but this one was actually even more intense for me. And it was the first time that I actually considered unaliving myself. Really. It was the first time I ever considered it. It was the morning of the birthday of my ex-wife, who was my wife at the time, and she was visiting in Connecticut, and I gave everything that I had for the visit to be good. And it was like me believing that I actually was going to have my family stateside. It was a very emotional moment. And so on that morning, little did I know, my ex-wife was planning on leaving the United States and going back to Mexico and explaining that I would be the cause of that fleeing. When it had to do with a bunch of situations with her at work, with a guy who she was sleeping with, being upset that, she was in the States, who knows, but it was pretty convoluted to be married and in the thick of that. Anyway, it was the morning of this crazy day, and my son, who's like a year old, walks over to me, waddling over in the morning, and he looks at me and he goes, "Papá, te amo. Te amo, papá. Todo bien, papá. Todo bien." So he's saying, "I love you, Dad. Everything is good. Everything is good, Dad, and I love you." And what I didn't know was happening was my son already sensed that something was changing that day and that he wouldn't see me for a long while. So he said goodbye to me in a way. That was his way of saying goodbye. And that was in 2017. It was the last time he came to the States. And so what happened was, that day I had scheduled to go to an immigration lawyer so that I could facilitate the process for my then wife to get her green card so that she could have full-blown citizenship. Okay, it says that I am restricted now. Okay. So the live has been restricted, so a bunch of people are going to leave. So be it. I'm just not surprised anymore. Anyway, I'm going to keep going with this story so long as there aren't any more notifications coming into my screen by TikTok. Yeah, so anyway, my son's saying goodbye to me, and that morning I went to an immigration officer, and I'm just going to actually turn off comments until we get through the story. Otherwise, it's going to be too hard, too tempting for me not to answer everyone and thus get lost in the story. But I want to say this for Percy. This story is for Percy. Okay. So I'm at the immigration office, and it's the birthday of my then wife. This is about 8 years ago. And I'm filing all the paperwork. I'm paying all the fees, taking care of everything for her. She doesn't have to do anything. And it's her birthday. So I go, and then after that I go to Carvel, which is like a ice cream cake store. And I get happy birthday with her name on it, on a cake, and everything. I bought ice cream sandwiches, got everything ready. And I didn't have much money at the time. I was working as a college advisor. So I was pretty much putting everything that I had into their visit to make it right so that it would work. I had these illusions that my family would be here. And so, like, while all this is happening, my now ex-wife was going to the city, taking a train every day and just sleeping with different guys. So she'd go out with different guys, and then she wouldn't come back until 2 or 3 in the morning. My children would be crying, asking for their mother. Where are they? And still, I did what I had to do. I got the paperwork done, and I submitted it, and then I came back with the cake. And just as I'm putting it in the freezer to keep it cold, I knew that my father had taken them out to the Peabody Museum in New England to see a bunch of fossils and other cool things. And he calls me on my cell phone and he says, "Bill, they're gone." Like, they left. We were in TGI Fridays, and your nanny looked at your wife, and they signaled each other, and they walked out, got into an Uber, and they're heading to JFK right now. And they're gone. That was it. So it probably wasn't until like a year and a half later that I had the courage to go back to Mexico to see my children, because it was really the only way I was going to see them. But I knew the last time that I was in Mexico that basically there was a plan for me to be unalived there, which has likely led to my restrictions on TikTok. And that's okay. Like, it's not like it's a story that I'm making up. There's tons of evidence showing to it. I never presented it to court because I didn't want issues, nor did I want my children to be presented to such a thing. Really, what children want more than anything is for their parents to be together and to be happy, and for them to have demonstrations of love on the regular. That's what children want. And so what a good parent does, as far as I'm concerned, is they kind of put those things aside, and they do their best to make it as comfortable and loving for their children as you can while the chaos is unfolding. And so it was that afternoon that I got the call from my dad, and I'm looking in the freezer at this birthday cake that I got from my ex-wife, who was actually on the road in an Uber fleeing to JFK to fly back and play out this scenario like I was doing some sort of harm to her and that she felt threatened in the States. And it was just, she has her story always. You know, it was just very shocking. I even called the police and I said, "Is there anything that can be done?" And they're like, "Dude, you have to let her go. If your children haven't been here in the States for more than 6 months, their permanent residence is in their home country. And so she's more than within her right to just take them back. You can't do anything. We can't do anything for you." And so I was like, at that point in time, livid. I went back into my apartment and I called my parents and I said, "I think I'm prepared to do it to myself. I'm ready to end my life. Like, this is it. I can't do it anymore. This is the moment." So it was like the first time that I really felt, more than ever, that I had nothing left to live for, that I had no real reason or purpose in being here, that it had all been taken away, and there was no sense in continuing. So Percy, I say this to you with the comments off, because I want you to know that as much as we probably have very distinct life situations that are much different, these nightmares will come about if we keep entertaining them. And that feeling of helplessness that I had was the strongest feeling I had on that day. And it was the strongest feeling that I had for a few years, that I would never see my children, that they would never be with me, that they would forget about me, they wouldn't love me anymore. And it would be done based on a person who had complete control that I couldn't do anything about, because if I tried to see them, something might happen to me that would unalive me, because I wouldn't be in my area of comfort in my own country. So I kept feeding this, and I went so far as to feed it even further. I went and I started looking into the gallery of magic, and I started using sigils and spells, and I started getting deep, becoming a warlock, understanding what that means, casting spells on anyone who ever slighted me. Even if it was a person who cut me off on the road, I would wish upon their demise. And I did this for a couple years. And what happened was, I would get recollections from people that they had nightmares, that they were afraid, that things were happening to them that were inexplicable. And I was like, okay, it's working. This is good. I'm actually cursing these people that did all this harm to me. They took everything that was meaningful from me. So in a way, I was getting justice. At the same time, I was building up this huge boomerang that I had no idea was about to whip around and make it so that my children to this very day will never say they love me. I haven't spoken to my daughter since August, September. And that's the end. All right, let's do this. So I'm just going to speak this in while we're recording. Let's see if it will allow me to. So TikTok, I have no interest in unaliving myself whatsoever. And I need to record this as a video now so people can